Hello students, today we are going to discuss a new topic, that is mechanical properties of fluids. When you come across this topic, that is mechanical properties of fluids, this has an enormous application in the field of science. The chapter is a little bit lengthy, but when we consider the syllabus of NEET, the basic bible of our syllabus is actually NCERT. So when you consider the entire topic within the NCERT and also its applications, the chapter is very easy. So first of all, the most important thing that you have to understand the concepts very well. After that, the numericals will be very much easy for you. So today we are going to start the chapter. Before starting the chapter, I would like to give you a brief introduction. This mechanical properties of fluids, it is actually divided into basically 6 topics. The first one is fluid pressure. The next one is Archimedes principle and buoyancy. The third one will be surface tension. The next one will be viscosity. And the last one will be fluid dynamics, the continuity equation, the Bernoulli's principle and its applications. Some very important applications like Magnus effect, Venturi meter, orifice meter, like that. So let's start our topic, mechanical properties of fluids. So first of all, the first basic thing we have to learn in mechanical properties of fluids is the term known as density. As we know, we never compare the liquids on basis of their mass, the volume and the color. We compare the liquid property basically on density. We know that certain liquids are denser than water, certain liquids are lighter than water. So the basic reference we consider here is water. As we know, water is a universal solvent and we compare the density of every liquid on basis of water. So first of all, we have to understand what is density. Density is simply mass divided by volume. Mass of a substance divided by volume of a substance, that is known as density. So let's come across some certain units and other terms related to density. So let's see. First of all, we are going to study the formula of density. The formula of density is nothing. Density is mass by volume. So density is equal to mass divided by volume. So the SI unit, system international unit of mass, is kilogram and its volume is meter cube. So basically the SI unit of density will be kilogram meter raised to minus 3. At the same time, the lower unit of density is CGS unit, that is centimeter gram second, and the CGS unit will be gram centimeter raised to minus 3. This is the CGS unit and SI unit of density. Now, when we consider the density of water, as we all know, the density of water is expressed as 1 gram divided by 1 centimeter cube, which means 1 gram of water drop has a volume 1 centimeter cube. Now we are going to find out the density of water in SI unit. That's a little bit interesting. So 1 gram is 10 raised to minus 3 kilogram. 1 gram is 10 raised to minus 3 kilogram. 1 centimeter is 10 raised to minus 2 meter. The all raised to 3. This becomes 10 raised to minus 3 divided by 10 raised to minus 6. This becomes 10 raised to 3. So the unit becomes 10 raised to 3 kilogram per meter cube. That means 1 gram per centimeter cube is exactly equal to 1000 kilogram per meter cube. So density of water can be expressed as either 1 gram per centimeter cube or 1000 kilogram per meter cube. So, when you represent the density of water in terms of CGS unit, the value is 1. When you express the unit of water in terms of SI unit, the value of 1000. So, most important thing that you have to learn. Okay, so you should not get confused with 1 gram per centimeter cube or 1000 kilogram per meter cube. The basic thing you have to understand in the chapter is typically most important one. Okay, so this is the basic concept that you have to learn. Now let's move to the next topic. The next topic is actually regarding a new term, that is relative density or specific gravity. As I told you earlier, every density of the liquid is compared with density of water. So we have to come across a new topic, relative density. So let's look into the topic, relative density. Relative density, it has also another name, relative density or specific gravity. Now relative density or specific gravity, it means it is just a ratio. First of all, you have to understand it is a ratio. What is ratio? Ratio won't have any units. So ratio does not have any units or dimensions. So relative density, the formula of relative density is, it is density of substance divided by density of water. So for which substance you are calculating relative density, you have to apply one formula, density of that substance divided by density of water. So that is relative density, it does not have any unit. Now in that case, what is density of substance? We have to cross multiply. Density of substance is equal to relative density into density of water. Relative density into density of water. So density of a substance is equal to relative density into 1 gram per centimeter cube, or relative density into 1000 kilogram per meter cube. So density of a substance and relative density are same when you choose the unit of water as 1 gram per centimeter cube. Density of a substance is equal to 1000 into relative density. Density of a substance is equal to 1000 into relative density when you choose the unit of density of water as 1000 kilogram per meter cube. So this is the most important thing. So a density of the substance and relative density of the substance is same if and only if you choose the density of water as 1 gram per centimeter cube. So this has a relevant application in the numericals. So when you do a numerical problem, you have to analyze whether the question is based on CGS unit or SI unit. On that base, you have to take the density of water. Clear? So this is a basic condition of relative density. Now we are moving to the next important topic, that is density of mixtures. So the next topic in this syllabus is density of mixtures. So density of a mixture means, for example, if you take two liquids, you have two liquids in two containers. Now you are going to mix it. When you mix these two liquids, sometimes these liquids may be miscible or immiscible. In both cases, you will get a new liquid, and that liquid will have a density. So density of a mixture is nothing, it is mass of the mixture divided by volume of the mixture. Mass of the mixture divided by volume of the mixture. Now, two liquids are mixed. We are mixing two liquids. Two liquids are mixed. In that case, I am using a symbol rho. Rho is actually the symbol used for density. So, density of the mixture is equal to total mass by total volume. Total mass is m1 plus m2. Total volume is v1 plus v2. So, density of the mixture is m1 plus m2 divided by v1 plus v2. Now, mass can be written as volume into density. So, it is v1 rho 1 plus v2 rho 2 divided by v1 plus v2. So, density of the mixture can be also written as v1 rho 1 plus v2 rho 2 divided by v1 plus v2. Now, if the two liquids that we took has same volume, let us assume if v1 is equal to v2. Now, the density of the mixture will have a different equation. Just look, v1 rho 1 plus v2 rho 2 divided by v1 plus v2, which means the answer will be v into rho 1 plus rho 2 divided by 2v. This volume and volume gets cancelled and you will have a final equation. Density of the mixture will be rho 1 plus rho 2 by 2. This is a very important equation. So, if you take two liquids having same volume, having different densities, then the mixture will have a density v rho 1 plus rho 2 by 2. So, the mixture will be having a density rho 1 plus rho 2 by 2. This is a very important thing. Okay, clear? Now, let's move to the another case. Let's look into the another case. We already lay down the equation of density of mixtures. Now, density of a mixture, the formula is m1 plus m2 divided by v1 plus v2. So, m1 plus m2 divided by v1 plus v2. Now, let's see. m1 plus m2 divided by v1 plus v2. v1 can be written as m1 by rho 1. v2 can be written as m2 by rho 2. So, m1 plus m2 divided by m1 by rho 1 plus m2 by rho 2. Now, if we choose the liquid in such a manner that both are having same mass. So, let's see, if we are choosing in such a manner that both are having same mass, then the density of the mixture will be 2m divided by m into 1 by rho 1 plus 1 by rho 2. Now, we can cancel this mass. Then, density of the mixture will be 2 rho 1 rho 2 divided by rho 1 plus rho 2. So, when you take two liquids, if they are having same volume, it is rho 1 plus rho 2 by 2. If they are having same mass, the formula changes to 2 rho 1 rho 2 divided by rho 1 plus rho 2. This is the most important thing as we deal with density. So, we learned what is density, we learned the concepts of units, we learned the relative density, now we learned the mixtures. Now, the next important topic that we come across is pressure, hydrostatic pressure or pressure exerted by a fluid column. So, as you all know, what do you mean by pressure? Pressure is nothing, it is the force exerted normally on a surface per unit area. If we consider 1 square meter area and when we apply a force of 1 Newton in the perpendicular direction of the area, then 1 Newton per 1 meter square is known as pressure. When you apply a force in the perpendicular direction of the surface, that force is known as thrust. So the most important thing is pressure is not force by area, pressure is normal force by area. What is normal force? Normal force is thrust. So what is pressure? Pressure is thrust by area. The very important thing we are now going to study is hydrostatic pressure. Now let's see. Hydrostatic pressure. So hydrostatic pressure is pressure exerted by stationary fluid. Very important concept. The fluid is not moving, the fluid is stationary. Okay, so this pressure exerted by stationary fluid. Now when you take a container, in the container when you take some liquid, okay, now you consider a single water molecule, and this water molecule will experience force by the other water molecules in all the direction in such a manner that the net force on this single water molecule will be 0, because the entire liquid inside the container is at rest. If the entire liquid inside the container is rest, that means each and every water molecule in the container is also at rest. So what is pressure? Pressure is thrust by area. Pressure is thrust by area, that is force by area, that is Newton per meter square, that is Newton per meter square. So now you understand what is pressure. So pressure is thrust by area, that is Newton per meter square. Hope you understood what is pressure. So pressure is what? It is thrust by area. For a stationary liquid, every water molecule is at rest. Okay. So now we are going to study the formula of pressure. Let's see. If we consider a liquid column, we have to find out the pressure acting at this point. Pressure acting at this point. We have to understand one thing. This point is subjected to a force that arises due to the entire liquid column in the container. As we know, the entire liquid column is actually resting on the bottom of the container. So every point on the container bottom is actually experiencing the total force due to the weight of the liquid column. So at point P, this is at point P. At point P, we are going to calculate pressure. Similarly, at all points on the bottom, these all points experience the same force, that is weight of the liquid column. So all the points on the bottom experience the same force, weight of the liquid column. So that is pressure is equal to force by area. Which force? Perpendicular force. As you know, the entire weight is acting downward, which is perpendicular to the surface area. So this becomes mg by A. So mg is the weight of the liquid column. So this is what? Mg by A. Now let's see. Mg by A. Mass of the liquid column can be written as volume into density into G divided by area. volume can be written as area of the container into height of the liquid filled inside the container. So volume is what? Area into height of the liquid inside the container. So AH rho G by area. So area gets cancelled. Now you will get, this is not force, this is pressure. So pressure, you will get a formula, it is H rho G. So what is a formula of pressure? When you fill a container with a certain liquid, H rho G. So if you have 5 meter length of liquid column, what is the formula of the pressure at the bottom? It is H rho G. What is H? 5 meter. 5 meter. So that is SI unit. Then you have to apply density in also in the terms of SI unit. Now let's see. If height is in meter, you have to use the unit of density as kilogram per meter cube. If height is in centimeter, you can use the density of the liquid as gram per centimeter cube. So what is the pressure of a liquid due to its height? H rho G. So don't forget the very important thing, the pressure at the bottom of a container. When the container is filled with a liquid of height H, what is the formula? It is H rho G. When H is in SI unit, density should be also in SI unit. That you should not forget. Okay. So now we have learned the basic concept of pressure. Now let's move to the detailed view. Consider a container. Now this container is completely filled with liquid. I am going to calculate the total pressure. I am going to calculate the total pressure at bottom. Total pressure at bottom is nothing. It is H rho G plus atmospheric pressure. It is H rho G plus atmospheric pressure, because since the container is open, the upper surface of the water experience the pressure from the atmospheric air, that is PA. So whenever the container is open, the total pressure at bottom, total pressure is known as absolute pressure. So total pressure is known as absolute pressure. So absolute pressure is always atmospheric pressure plus H rho G. So don't forget this formula. When the container is open, we have to take which pressure also? Atmospheric pressure also. So the container is open, we have to take atmospheric pressure. When the container is closed, you need not take atmospheric pressure. So there is absolute pressure, atmospheric pressure plus H rho G. Now this H rho G, it is the pressure. H rho G is the pressure due to height of liquid column. Pressure due to height of liquid column, and that pressure is known as gauge pressure. Some of you might have pronounced it as gauge pressure. That is wrong. It's not gauge pressure, it is gauge pressure. So it is gauge pressure. Okay. So gauge pressure is pressure due to the height of the liquid column. The next topic now you are going to learn is, we are going to study the unit of atmospheric pressure in different terms. So next topic is units of atmospheric pressure. I hope you are all getting in touch with this chapter. This is a very important topic. You can expect 2 questions for NEET, and that 2 questions will be relatively very simple. So the next topic is units of atmospheric pressure. Units of atmospheric pressure. So 1 atm 1 atm is a unit of atmospheric pressure. 1 atm is equal to, it is 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square. It can be also expressed as 10 raised to 6 dyne per centimeter square. 1 atm is equal to, it is 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square, or it is 10 raised to 6 dyne per centimeter square. 1 atm can be also expressed as 1 bar. 1 atm can be also expressed as 1 bar. Now, 1 atm atmospheric pressure can be created by 10.3 meter of water column, which means when you fill water to a height 10.3 meter, the pressure at the bottom of that water column will be 1 atm. Okay, so 1 atm is approximately 10 meter of water, or it is approximately 1000 centimeter of water. So it is approximately 1000 centimeter of water. Now, 1 atm atmospheric pressure can be created using mercury also, but now you have to only fill the mercury at a height 76 centimeter of mercury. So when you fill mercury with a height 76 centimeter, so 1 atm is equal to 76 centimeter of mercury, or it can be also written as 760 mm of mercury. This is also represented as 760 torr. These are all the units of 1 atm or atmospheric pressure. So 1 atm can be generated using water by filling it to 10.3 meter. It can be also generated using mercury by filling it to just 76 centimeter of mercury. Okay. Now, another important thing we are going to learn is that 1 centimeter of mercury is exactly equal to 13.6 centimeter of water. This is a very important theory. This represents if there is a pressure difference due to 1 centimeter of mercury, there will be a pressure difference corresponding to 13.6 centimeter of water. Which means if you take a liquid, you just take a liquid or you just take a container filled with water. Okay. Now you insert a large tube into the container. At the end of the tube, you just fit a pressure adjusting instrument. On that pressure adjusting instrument, you can change the pressure in terms of mercury unit, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter. So, if you change the pressure on the basis of mercury measurement, for example, I am going to change the pressure by 1 centimeter of mercury. So, when I change 1 centimeter of mercury in the pressure instrument, that will result in the rise or fall of water by 13.6, which means 1 centimeter of mercury pressure difference can create a rise or fall of 13.6 meter of water, 13.6 centimeter of water, which means water will be raised by 13.6 centimeter if we change the pressure by a value 1 centimeter of mercury. There can be also another definition. 1 centimeter mercury column creates the same pressure that is created by 13.6 centimeter of water. So when you fill water at a height 13.6 centimeter and when you fill mercury for just 1 centimeter, both will be exerting same pressure. So 1 centimeter mercury pressure difference can create a rise or fall of water as 13.6 centimeter. It's a very important concept. So these are all the units of atmospheric pressure. Now the other thing you have to understand is there is an instrument which is used to measure atmospheric pressure. The instrument which is used to measure the atmospheric pressure. And what is that name of that instrument? The name of the instrument is nothing, it is barometer. It is barometer. So don't forget, this is barometer. So barometer is an instrument that is used to measure the atmospheric pressure. Which liquid is using in barometer? The liquid using in the barometer is mercury. The liquid using in the barometer is mercury. Clear? The liquid using in the barometer is mercury. What is the reason why mercury is used? Because it has high boiling point. It has high boiling point. It has low vapor pressure. These two important points. High boiling point, low vapor pressure. High boiling point, low vapor pressure, and it has also high density. It has also high density, and moreover it is a clear liquid. That's the most important thing, because when you measure a certain thing, it should be clear. So what's the importance of mercury? It is very clear liquid. So the liquid used in barometer is mercury. What are the basic reasons? It is having low vapor pressure, high boiling point, high density, and is also a clear liquid, so that the measurements can be taken very easily. So these are the most important topics related with atmospheric pressure, the units, the concept of pressure on basis of water column and mercury column. Then last, coming to the barometer, the liquid used in barometer, and why, the basic reason why we are using mercury. So these are the basic things when you deal with atmospheric pressure. Now let's move to the another topic. This topic is actually based on the numerical concept. Now let's see. For example, consider a test tube. Imagine a mercury is filled in it. H is the height of the mercury inside this test tube. Now I am tilting this test tube. At an angle theta. What is a new reading? Okay. Now this is the barometer. The barometer is initially kept vertical, and the height of the mercury inside the barometer. The height of the mercury inside the barometer is H. Now I am going to change the angle, or I am going to tilt it. So when it gets tilted, as you know that the mercury will be slanting downward. So what will be the new reading? The new reading, I am denoting it as L. The new reading is L. Initial reading was H. Now the new reading is L. Now let's see. So this angle is theta. So as you know, this angle will be also theta. This is actually L, and this is height H. Okay. Now let's see. What is cos theta? Adjacent side by hypotenuse. So cos theta will be H by L. So cos theta, it will be H by L. Or what is L? L is equal to H by cos theta. L is equal to what? H by cos theta. So the new reading, what's the new reading? The new reading is H by cos theta. Now you have to keep in an important thing in mind, that now initially in this case the test tube is tilted at an angle theta with respect to vertical. So theta is tilted. Theta is an angle with respect to vertical. For example, consider this test tube. It is inclined, but it is inclined at an angle theta with horizontal. For example, you can tilt the test tube in any manner. This is the test tube. You can tilt it. If the vertical angle is 30, the horizontal angle will be 60 degree. So, in the first case, the question is like this. The test tube is tilted at an angle theta, and that theta is with respect to vertical, and this theta is with respect to vertical. Now, the next question, this theta is tilted, the angle is with respect to horizontal. So, the equation will be changing. Very important thing. The new reading is L, but it is not h by cos theta, it is h by sin theta. So, the question may come in two different ways. So, never by heart, or if you are going to by heart, you have to find the condition. If theta is with respect to vertical, it is h by cos theta. If theta is with respect to horizontal, it is h by sin theta. So, that's the most important thing you have to keep in mind. Okay. So, this is actually pressure barometer, the most important thing. Now, the next thing we are going to study is Pascal's law. The most important thing that you are going to study is Pascal's law. So, what is Pascal's law? It's a very important thing you have to understand. Pascal's law. First of all, let me tell where we can apply Pascal's law. First one is liquid should be at rest. The second condition, liquid should be enclosed. The third condition, liquid should be incompressible. Incompressible means the liquid should have a uniform density everywhere. The liquid should have a uniform density everywhere. So, in these three conditions, we can apply Pascal's law. Now, what is Pascal's law? Pascal's law is stating that in an enclosed liquid, in an incompressible liquid, okay, in an enclosed incompressible liquid at rest, these are the basic conditions. Wherever we apply a pressure inside the liquid, that pressure will be transmitted equally in all directions without any loss to all the points in the liquid. So, you have a container which is closed, which is at rest, and the liquid inside the container is incompressible. So, wherever you apply a pressure on the container inside the liquid, that pressure will be transmitted to all the liquid molecules or to all the parts of the liquid without any loss. That is known as Pascal's law. So, the pressure will be uniformly distributed everywhere in equal directions, in all directions. That is what you mean by Pascal's law, the most important thing. So, let's see. So, common, this is a hydraulic jack. As we know, in vehicle service stations, when you go to a service station, when you bring a car to a service station for a washing purpose or for any kind of service purpose, the car will be moved on to a platform, and when a switch is on, the platform will raise the car. As you know, the car is having enormous weight, okay, but we are not at all applying that much force on the lever to uplift the car. Just take another example. When your tire gets punctured, what happens? You just insert a hydraulic jack and you rotate the screw. As you continuously rotate the screw, you can observe that the car is raising, which means the entire weight of the car, you are applying a force which is equal to the entire weight of the car. But you cannot lift a car with your bare hands. You are applying a very small force on the lever, but you are getting the output as very large. So, the input is small, the output is large. That is due to Pascal's law that we are going to study. See, here, this is a typical example of hydraulic jack. This point is 1, this point is 2. On point 1, and applying a force F1. So, at point 1, we are getting a pressure P1. What is P1? P1 is F1 by A1. A1 is the area of the piston. A1 is the area of the piston where the force is applied. Now, this pressure, as we know, pressure is always acts perpendicular to surface. Now, this pressure will be transmitted equally in all directions onto the second piston. In this pressure, it is P2. P2 is what? It is F2 by A2. P2 is what? F2 by A2. As we know, point 1 and 2. Point 1 and 2. Just see, it is point 1 and point 2. Point 1 and 2 lies in the same horizontal line. So, when you consider points on the same horizontal line, so you have to remember what I taught in the initial stages of pressure. I consider very small points on the bottom of the container, and I told you that on all points the pressure is same, because all points I took is on the bottom of the container, that all points are on the same horizontal line. So when you consider all points, or when you consider 2 points, 3 points, 4 points on a horizontal line, on all that points the pressure will be same. Now look at here, this is point 1 and this is point 2. These are lying on the same horizontal line, which means the pressure will be same. So there is also an application of Pascal's law. So on a horizontal liquid layer, the pressure on all that points on the layer will be same. So it is P1 equal to P2. So the very important thing, P1 is equal to P2 because both points lies on the same horizontal line. P1 is F1 by A1. P2 is F2 by A2. So what is F2? F2 is F1 into A2 by A1. F2 is F1 into A2 by A1. F1 is a force that we apply. So F1 is the input force. As you recognize from the diagram, A2 is greater than A1. A2 is having a greater size, A1 is having a lower size. So A2 is greater than A1. That proves that since A2 greater than A1, F2 is greater than F1. So we are applying a small force on the lever, but we are getting a greater output. That output makes the car to move in the upward direction. So a very small force applied on the piston having smaller cross section, and the car is actually placed on the larger cross section. So the car is actually placed on the larger cross section, and due to the Pascal's law, wherever the car is resting on the platform, that platform will experience an upward force, that is F2, and F2 is greater than F1 because A2 is greater than A1. So this is Pascal's law. So P1 equal to P2, F1 by A1 equal to F2 by A2. That's the only thing you have to remember. You would understand one thing. F1 is a force applied. A1 is the area of the piston where the force is applied. So if you want to get a more force, you have to place the car on a platform which is having larger area. Then only you will get more force. Since A2 is greater than A1, that makes F2 greater than F1. So this is hydraulic jack. There are different applications based on Pascal's law. Hydraulic jack, hydraulic press, hydraulic lift. These are all the applications based on Pascal's law. So you have to learn the conditions where the Pascal's law holds. Then on a horizontal line, the pressure remains same. Then the pressure is transmitted equally in all directions. This is a basic thing. So by the end, we have learned the entire thing related to pressure distribution. Almost the entire term related to pressure distribution we have learned. Okay, so we have learned each and everything regarding pressure for a stationary liquid. So very important thing. Hope you all understand what you mean by pressure. So in the next class, we will deal with the pressure for a moving liquid. Then we'll go on to a very interesting topic known as Archimedes principle. So for that, stay tuned, study well. Thank you.